You talking about this right here?
296,000.
You talking about that one?
No. Sorry, y'all.
With that one.
296,000.
Hey, Randy.
I just made copies of it for y'all.
Well, I'm laying right here.
You tell me later, I didn't mean to hold up the meeting, sorry.
No, Joe, it's okay.
Here we go. Okay, the 296,000 miscellaneous bills, January 1st, 2026 Clearwater Solutions for 191,801.11. Clearwater Solutions, $4,302. MDA Professional Group, which is the accountant, $9,725. Clearwater Solutions, $66,652.96. Town of Wedowee reimbursement for medical and dental insurance, $13,850.27. The Kelly Group, $5,000. Lake Wedowee Auto Parts, $169.99. Uniforms, $438. Charter Communications, $244.30. MDA Professional Group, $3,445. Lake Wedowee Body Shop, $290.90. And GNC Supply Company for supplies, $112.85.
And that was how much? That was the total on that?
Total $296,032.38.
And then Clearwater Solutions, that's the people that work out at the water treatment plant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, were we behind in that? Did we forget to pay them or something?
I just-
tried my
it-
best to
it
stay
just-
out of all
Okay.
What was the question?
That was why it went back to January, February that we hadn't paid them 100.
Well, it was set up, and is Brian here? Brian's not here. You can tell me, Hunter, because the way it was explained to us, that it never was set up on quarterly payments,
Yes.
but the old administration just chose to do it on quarterly payments instead of monthly. Is that correct?
Correct. I think the contract stated that it was monthly payments, but from what I remember, the old administration said that there was some verbal deal on quarterly. That's since been resolved, but we didn't want to rock the boat too much. Anyway, that's what.
And if you remember, they were on a cash basis, not accrual basis, so they would not put it on the books until the check had been written and put in,
I
so.
gave them an advantage.
Any other questions on the financial report? Okay. Votes. I'd like to make a motion that we change our meeting time from 9 a.m. on the second Wednesday of the month to 5 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month. I think this would allow more people to come to meetings and be more convenient for everyone. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Also, we presented the real estate to the city council last night. As far as the old utility building and the 16 acres of land by the lagoon, they declined to purchase. So I'd like to make a motion that we hire a real estate agent to sell the 16 acres of land and or the building. Also included in this, I'd like to include, if we do not sell the old utility building, that we would lease each side of that out. One which houses the police station, The other one was where the utility board used to be. And value of those leases should be $1,500 per side, which would generate $3,000 a month income for the utility board.
You making that form of motion?
Can I say something before you? Where's it 16 acres at?
By the lagoon, which is, if you go past the football field, across the bridge, and then to the left.
Okay.
Behind it is real property back there.
Yeah, that kind of hilly area where the old bridge used to come across.
So you could walk across it and see the stuff flooding.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 acres are not in the floodplain, the rest of it would be down on the creek.
Yeah, so, but I'm
Pretty
surprised that's not wetland restricted, but yeah, I mean, as a citizen, I would hope we would keep that for the town of Wedowee. I think we've got enough, what we call progress going on, that, but anyway. It was
I
just,
agree. We presented it to city council, before, and they've had time to, but they declined last night to buy it.
and the water board owns that.
Also, I'd like to say that there's been some discrepancies on who owns the utility board shop. But either the town of Wedowee or the utility board, after extensive research, we have come to the conclusion that the utility board owns that shop. It's been on the books of the utility board.
I think you got a motion. You want to go ahead and finish up your vote? Did Richie make a motion for the?
Yeah, this is included
Part
in
of-
the real
okay.
estate. We have to finish that yet. I just want to explain why we're not voting to include that in the real estate. We have documentation from the people who sold it to the utility board. It's on our books. We've been paying insurance. There's no recorded deed in the courthouse to the town of Wedowee. And, therefore, unless a court tells us different, we're assuming that we own that. So to continue the vote on the real estate, I made a motion that we hire a real estate agent to sell the 16 acres of land and or the building. If we do not sell the building, to lease it out for $1,500 per side.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
How many acres is with the shop?
It's just where the shop is. We already
Well-
own the land all around it.
That's what I was gonna say. We own the land all the way around it. What was in question originally was that no one ever, typical stuff, no one ever did paperwork on anything because of people being kind of in charge of the city and this, right? So things just didn't get done because it was a handshake deal. It's not the only one that I'm worried about, but we have a video, and we have a video of a gentleman we bought the land from that states half the building, it's Tommy Cofield, half the building was on Tommy's property, half the building was on an estate, and we have paperwork on both those where we closed on both those. So we're 100% comfortable that we own that building, and it should have never been in question except, all other things came up in question. So
How many acres is there?
I think total there, with everything we own there, probably 1.5, 2 acres.
Be leased at. Pretty good little spot.
Yeah.
I'd also like to make a motion that we have the building, the old building where the police department is, have that painted before we put it on the market.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lastly, I'd like to make a motion that we hire a forensic auditor for the utility board starting in 2005 forward. And I'm gonna let Randy explain why we need to do that.
Yeah, I give you guys a package. My finance, I'll give you a little prettier than Barry's, but that's all right. If you skip to that and go past the letter from Kelly Group, there is First, let me say this. I'm not accusing anybody of any wrongdoing. Let me go up front and say that. However, there's questions that come up, and it's my duty and my position according to the ethics board, that I bring this stuff up, right? And all we ever want out of anything is just the truth. You know, we want to know the truth about everything. So the first, if you look at the number one, where I put a number one on it, that's someone's expense report back in 2009 that shows you what the expectations of the board would have been, because this is an individual that had, you know, all practical purposes, put it down just like you're supposed to. How many miles he went, where he went, how much he was reimbursed per mile, and then come up with a figure, right? So that should have been the expectation for anybody. If you go to the second page, and I'm gonna give you the story here, and because all these kind of run together for somebody. What I've ran across in some of my dealings, and I was gonna ask you guys for this independent auditor, because I'd already talked to our counsel, and our attorney had went ahead and said, hey, Randy, you guys are at the point now, you got to get an independent auditor in there to audit your books, right? Some of the stuff we just talked about was revenue. I mean, it doesn't make any sense on 27 customers if you just do $100 a piece, that now our revenue is $300 something thousand more for 6 months versus, I mean, it's just not physically possible, right? So we need to find out about our revenue in the past and go back and look and really account to every dollar. We owe that to the public, to our citizens, right? Our customers. So in my looking around of samples, I should say, the first thing I did is I did a vendor analysis of our QuickBooks account that goes back to about 2005. And what I found was employees were getting vendor checks written to them for what appears to be, in my mind, duties that should have been consumed under their function here, right? So basically, an extra check was being written for duties that I feel would have been encompassed under their duties. And even if you look back at some of their wastewater treatment license requests, it says their duties are that. Yet for many years, more than 10, they were getting a check. That check came to roughly with mileage. And if you look at number 3, I think, as an example, well, certainly number 4 as an example. I tried to give you a couple of years example here from 2009 all the way to 17. You see that it's just a blank mileage with a number out there that at any time went up and down. Essentially, this comes to, over that period of time, $300 and something thousand in extra payments. There's no board meeting minutes where they approved this individual getting the extra pay. It just started happening. In addition to that, there is a board meeting minute where they approved an individual to put chemicals for the lagoon on their expense report, right? However, if you look at number 2 there, that's the only thing in the file is a white piece of paper that says, this one in particular says $3,400 for 1 month, right? I can tell you today, we use about $1,700 in chemicals a year. This is every month. There is an extra check wrote that with no backup whatsoever, also totaling over $300,000. And combined, these two things are $670,000. And if you just break them up close to being even, that's money that I feel like we need that auditor to come in here. I'll go ahead and tell you, I've already contacted the Attorney General, asked for guidance. I have asked them for an independent audit, or what the process is for those guys to come in and audit. I'm get a little heated about this one. So it's got to be looked at, and what I want it looked at, and I would like, if it's in the wrong, I feel like by the end of the year we need to go after and collect our money back, and with back interest. It's unfair to the public for us to do the public for money all the time when we have things that, and again, I'm not saying anything was wrong, but there's questions that need to be answered.
Absolutely. I make the motion that we hire the forensic audit.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. I would also, nothing to vote on here, but I would like to bring to the attention to the public that, and I went through this with the city council last night. From 2005 through 2011, the city was leasing the police department side for $350 a month. From 2011 until present, no rent has been paid, nor were they paying a water bill for the police department. That's a total of a little over $78,000 that I feel like that the utility board missed out on. Last night I presented this. I did not say anything about the city reimbursing us. I just brought it up for discussion. No solution on this was rendered, but I feel like that moving forward, we present the police department with a lease if they want to stay there for $1,500 a month, which is the current market value for lease in Wedowee. Again, let me say this very clearly. We are not against the police department. It's nothing to do with being against them. We support them totally. This is a town of Wedowee issue. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Now we'll get to our guest, Miss Joyce White.
Yes.
Okay, would you like to join us over here?
Good morning. My name is Joyce White, and I have a problem that I've been trying to get resolved for the last 2-3 years. I talked to Tim Coe before when he was over there at the utility board. I purchased property on County Road 213. I purchased the property from Jason Bentley, and he purchased the property from, I think, James Carrington. Mr. Carrington is deceased. Jason purchased the property and then he sold the property to me. Okay, so I want to have the water turned on in my name, but I'm being told that I have to go back and pay Mr. Carrington's bill.
Was the water ever connected in the person's name that you purchased it from?
I don't think so. He
Maybe
never
you
lived on
don't
the
know.
property.
I can't tell off the top of my head. Jim, are you familiar with that one? Was it?
Yeah, I didn't find where it was purchased. You know, he had water in his name at that time.
So, yeah, and, you know, I'm not familiar with it, if it came to the other person or how far back it goes. I can tell you that our published policy on water meters are, because we have $300,000 outstanding right now from bills that we haven't gotten paid, a lot of which are people that just leave the water bills. One bills they just don't pay. And people do end up getting saddled with it, but we have no way of going after that. It especially happens a lot in rental units. So our policy that we came up with the attorney was that we would not close a meter out until we were paid on that account. We would not close the meter. We would not transfer the meter until that account was made full. Now we can put another meter in. Tap fee's a little bit more. I don't know what's owed on that meter. Do you know? Do you remember?
400 and something.
400 or something.
400 something, yeah.
Mhm.
And it goes to, Barry, that, you know, back, and you just caught up in this, so I'm not addressing this at you, by the way. But it goes back to, again, there's $300,000 outstanding that, you know, you have to pay your back taxes no matter what, if you buy property or not. And this comes up a lot. This situation has come up probably 10 times since I've been here. But the back taxes are owed, everything else is owed, but somehow the water bill just keeps getting not paid. And what we have to do, and what I explained to everybody, is we put the policy in place so that there was never favoritism. Everybody was treated exactly the same on everything that was standard. You can go read it. This is what happens. This is what we do. Now, obviously, that policy was written after you purchased your property, if you purchased that property that long ago. But, you know, I don't know how they did things in the past. I don't. I mean, you know, a lot of different.
What were you told by Tim Coe when you asked
He
him?
would get back with me. He never have.
Okay,
Well, let me say this. We've had this come up before your time and your time and the fellow that was presenting it had a back, he couldn't get he had to pay the back pay anyway. He carried the court. Well, John Tenney represented him. You can probably remember. And, we had to let him have it. We didn't charge him no back pay. Now, this has been a while back,
right,
but it's been within the last year or so because I ain't been on board but a year or so. So it's been within my time.
So, and that kind of goes back to the whole renter thing. It's a little bit different, like trying to, if you go rent a property, and I think that probably goes back to what you're talking about, Tony. If you go rent a property and then you put the water in your name and you move out, well, then somebody else coming in, we can't go against the owner of that property, right? Because somebody else came in. But and that's why we had to come up with a policy that says if there's an account owed on that meter, until that meter is paid, we don't transfer that account anymore. And because you can't hold the owner of the property, John Tenney thing, you can't hold the owner of the property responsible for somebody else's bills. So we just
same way
stick
with
to the
rental
meter.
property.
Yeah.
But when was our policy?
About a month and a half ago.
Month and a half ago. And ma'am, when did Timco? When did you address Timco
About 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It had been a time to get back to you then, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. And the amount that was owed was $476.55.
All they do is turn on the meter. You have water. And a new customer.
Barry, given that she came before and asked, and it goes back that far, I don't have a problem if we want to make an exception. I can't make an exception on every one of them that comes through because not everybody has came forward before. But since she came before,
Right.
if you're okay with it, I would be okay making it.
Well, I feel that definitely from when the policy was made moving forward, we have to stick to the policy. You know, we've been cleaning up a lot of things that the previous, administration and board did. My personal opinion is, since Miss White has, tried to get this resolved for the last 2 years, I'll make a motion that we wipe this clean and turn her water on at her new property.
Second.
So
All in favor?
Thank you.
Miss White, I'm sorry it took you 2 years.
Thank you.
How long will it take you to have it on?
Okay, Mike Browning.
Morning, Mike Browning. I live on, excuse me, my sinus is on County Road 6. The reason I'm here is I called to ask about what your factoring criteria might be for deciding who gets water. If it's in your control, if it's in the city, I understand that more so than someone like me on County Road 6, where there are meters down the main road, but there's some off-water lots that I've looked at behind. Mr. Crouch would be very familiar with the lots over there that's in the Messer
Right.
subdivision. I've called and spoke with Allison, and she told me flat out, she knew, she was familiar with it, that we couldn't get water on those lots because they weren't connected to County Road 6.
Right.
Well, then I also asked about another property you guys might be familiar with on Dancing Waters Way. Dancing Waters, where a certain person lives, that is not even in a subdivision, and they got water, and then there's 3 more lots beside it that are being developed, skirting the subdivision rules of the county, and by territorial jurisdiction, skirting your rules if you're not aware of it, but they're advertising them with public utilities. Again, I called Allison, spoke with her, and she said flat out, we've already decided we're going to connect to the line Dancing Waters Way. And we're going to make it available to those 3 new lots. But yet a subdivision that's platted, been on the book since 1985, that has streets actually cut off of County Road 6. And I think her words were an easement would be required to run water to those lots. There's streets in the plat. And so why?
Allison, do you mind coming out for a second? So I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'd rather, I'm just passing along the facts I got from her, and I'd love for her to be here. I was hoping she could hear me. I was trying to just understand the facts.
You're dealing to her, not at her.
I don't want to interrupt you, but while you're on that particular thing, were these decided by the old administration that those people would get water?
That's that Shaw Patel project. You talking about off of Denson Waters Way?
Yeah, there's 3 lots of Shaw's developing
That's the
back
Shaw
there.
Patel
And
project,
let me clarify something, right? Here's our policy since we're here today on water. And Shaw came to this, did the same thing that you're going to end up doing, okay? If you want to do this, we have in the past people would get said yes to, people would get said no to, and there was no rhyme or reason on who got what and when. My first thing I did is came in and said that the same thing applies to everybody, whether I've known you for 10 years or known you for 5 minutes. A rule's a rule, is followed, that's it, right? Our rule is that anybody who wants to develop a subdivision or lot calls Curtis O'Daniel. You make a give him a PO. He knows our system. Yeah. He knows he knows our system better than we do. He tells us, yeah, you've got water capacity to put this many lots in or not in. It's the same thing happened with Shaw Patel. Shaw Patel took care of getting with Curtis, and they worked out how they're going to get the water. They pay us the taps. We put them in. We want you to have water. I want to sell you water. Now, I'm not responsible, just like another one for Shaw Patel and somebody else. They wanted an easement going across it is not my responsibility to get easements. I can't do that. I'd love to, but I have no control over going up to somebody and saying, I need to come across your property. I would love to do that, but I can't. But you can go to somebody and say, hey, I'll give you $100 for an easement. They may give it to you. It may cost you $1,000. I don't know. They may give it to you for free. But I can't do that. As long as you get me the easement, as long as Curtis says this is what you've got to do, you put your lines in the way he says you put them in according to our standards, because he knows that, and he ain't very expensive, by the way. And then we accept the lines once they're put into our standards. But he has to be the guy, because it did happen a lot before I got here. People just say, well, we don't have water there. Why not? But then somebody gets another tap. So it's just that guy right there is the guy who tells me if we can give you water or not. And I don't see any reason, as long as you can get an easement to you there, we've got a 6-inch line running through there. I think you work with Curtis, you'll get what you need. So.
But the problem is there's no easement required. There's streets in there to each of these lots.
I know when it was made. I know when it was built. Tony must have put them in there. Because he owned that property.
That's right.
And he put the streets in there. That's been years ago now.
1985.
I mean, it borders the road. I'm not sure why they need an easement either. So I don't know that. I'm just saying, whatever it needs, we want you to have water.
I understand that, but after 2 years of calling different people I've spoken with that were interested in the lots, my daughter's interested in buying all the remaining lots there, possibly, but she was told can't get water.
She was told, like the board told her. The board said we would not extend no more water lines. When I come on board, we couldn't extend no more water lines, you know.
And we're not. You're having to extend to us, right? You do that. We'll make sure you get water as long as Curtis says
he's got water going right down through there.
But that was my issue: is what are your criteria? Because just because I call and you're immediately told you can't get it, that's not a good.
The criteria is we're not engineers.
Yeah.
And we're not going to make any decisions that.
Sure.
That we don't. You know, we will go by what Kurt.
Yeah, but that's a different answer than what I've got.
And I understand.
You can't get water.
You have to understand too. We have been here since February.
I do, and I appreciate that a whole lot.
And I do apologize for prior issues, but it was nothing to do with us, and we're trying to make everything as right as we possibly can, and we want it to be fair to everyone.
Yeah, and so the next question is, though, do you ever get involved with the establishment of a subdivision doesn't meet the county's regulations and by default doesn't meet the planning commissions? The 3 lots that have been approved for water, anybody even thinking about that's a subdivision per the county rules, right? Why do you provide water to a subdivision that hasn't gone through the process of getting approval to build the subdivision? Where does that start?
We don't get involved in that. If somebody needs water, they come to us, they go to Kurt, they need water, we get water.
So
That's up to the county. to
I
figure
met
out
the
things.
county last meeting. I'll meet with them again tomorrow. I want to know why it wouldn't be so simple if someone asked you for water to walk over to the courthouse and say, this is a new subdivision. This is a new lot. Should we be providing water to a lot or a subdivision that hasn't met the requirements of a subdivision? I mean, they're running their access drive is private. You then turn their access to the lots is under the power lines. They're not putting in any new streets, and the whole idea of the subdivision rules and utilities is going to have to follow that, right?
No, look, we live in Randolph County where there's not a whole lot of rules.
I know,
right?
but it's written. That's written.
Right, but if somebody comes to us and wants to, whether he's legal or not on his subdivision, that's not my problem. I provide water when somebody asks for water if they get to me. That's what we do.
But
We're not the governor over subdivisions.
I understand that, but shouldn't there at least be some communication to say, hey,
It's not us.
okay.
That's not us. That's
So
the
my
county.
question to you is your concern about getting water yourself or someone else
Yeah, it's just
getting something that shouldn't?
my question is, what is the factoring criteria to determine who gets water? Because
Well,
just
and we
telling
told you
somebody,
that.
oh, I know that now.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was asked to come here to ask the question.
Right,
That's what Allison said. She couldn't answer it, but so come to you.
right.
And so I think I now have an understanding that although there are streets there and there shouldn't be any easements required because there streets, you should be able to go down a street if the capacity allows it. And again, it's a subdivision and within your territorial jurisdiction. Any of you on the planning commission?
Nope.
Okay, totally separate entity.
And-
Don't
and
communicate
the
with
thing
them
is
at
with
all.
us, we want to do everything we can to be fair and do what's right to
Sure.
everyone.
I understand.
We have no control over what was done in the
Yep,
past.
I understand.
And to protect the infrastructure of everything that's here, dealing with Kurt, he is a very knowledgeable person, a very fair guy. There's no politics involved in
Good.
this. If he says that you can get water, you're going to get water.
Very good. And I would suggest that you provide that policy to your employees when people call in to say it's got to be a determination
Well, sir,
made.
I
and
I
yes or no.
understand if you knew the load that we've done since
Yeah,
February
I
3rd,
believe
we
me.
have to get to. We're trying to get to everything.
Believe me, I'm in the middle of it with my neighbor who's the mother of a person that's really involved in a lot of this. I hear it all, from all directions as well. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Absolutely.
If you
I have a
want to call in and get Kurt's number,
Yeah.
So,
Kurt, he's in charge and he can determine the volume we have.
Kurt knows every line. Yeah.
Do we have any idea about how much more capacity we have for our water? I guess we can buy water if we need more, right? I think we've done that.
Well, it's not just the water. It's also got a lot to do with different areas, different pressure, right? And it's more than just the volume. Yeah, we can buy water, up to 30 million gallons a month, and as well as make water. We're not anywhere. We're selling right now 12 million gallons.
So you got plenty of room.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
Well,
a
I
matter of
don't
what the lines carry, because I'm gonna give a theory example, right?
Okay.
Let's say you buy a lot in the back of a subdivision somewhere, you buy 10 lots in the back of a subdivision somewhere, they only have a 3-inch line running through there. Well, the board policy on that is if that 3-inch line won't carry that, then you're gonna have to, if you want water there, you're gonna have to run a different line all the way back to our main line. We're not doing that anymore. We're not running lines anymore. But we're gonna work with you to get your water, one way or the other. As long as you've got the legal right to get to your property and everything, we will. We had to tell them no on the easement because we don't go get easements on pretty close adjacent.
That
to
property don't connect to County Road 6?
Yes, it does.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know why you'd have a highway.
You don't have. It's got streets in it. I'm just repeating what I've been told for 2 years.
Well, if it connects County Road 6, we've got water on County Road 6, so.
Yeah.
I don't know why you have to get yourself to give you an easement then.
If you buy all those lots and you run what you run, you just basically we hook up on the side of the road to where our line is. So that's the way it works. So
Not down the street like you have in the others. That's the new policies. I would have to pay tap fees from County Road 6.
you would run everything back to County Road 6. Yep.
Okay.
That's just the same thing Strange did at their place down on the down by the river. So you run it all back to there. You run everything from there.
Tap fee still $3,500.
I'm sorry.
What's a tap fee?
It varies. If you have to do a road bore, it is extra, but if it's just a standard tap fee for a standard meter, it's $2,500. So, is it
And
25 or
then-
24? 20, maybe 24. Yeah.
And then if you have to do an easement, who pay, or if you do an easement to access it, say 1,000 feet, like Dancing Water, who pays for that 1,000 feet of extension?
They do, yeah. Where we don't run line, we put the meter in at our line, and everything from there on out is the people.
So if I go over there and look, I would find their water meter up on County Road 6,
Yeah.
all the way down Dancing Waters Way. And these new lots are gonna have
Well,
water meters up
For
at
the
Dancing.
3 lots you're talking about,
Yeah.
those meters were going up, and he went and got his own easements and bought that property to have that drive through there and everything, so, and the meters are going right there, 1, 2, 3,
On Dancing Waters,
on Dancing Waters.
not on the county road, where it should have been. Because that's down an easement, Dancing Waters.
No,
is an easement.
he has an easement, he got the easement
That's
in order to put it there, yes.
But I haven't seen any water meters up there.
Well, we haven't put them in yet.
I'm talking about up at the county road. That
We haven't
starts,
put them in yet.
well, the one that runs down to the end of Dancing Waters. There's
We
a
will
line.
put water meters in up at the road, not Dancing Waters, and he's running his lines from there down. If he wants the meters closer to that, let me say that, I don't want to make it sound like that's the only way of doing it. If he wants the meters closer than that, he has to run a line up to our line, and we'll connect that line into our line, and then we'll put the meters down at his road. But he has to he's got to make the connection all the way back to our line. Whether he pays us to make, like that one's got to go under the road, so he'll pay us to make a bore, and he'll connect right there. Whether he could put some meters all right there, or he runs another 3-inch line down, and then they put the meters off that, but they're responsible to do all that.
Okay.
So, and that's been policy for a long time, I think. So, ours is, it's not about who you know or what, it's Kurt telling me you can have water, we get your water. And because he knows where the volumes are, where they're not, so. Yeah, thank you.
All right, Hunter, can you give us an update? If you don't mind, Hunter, if you come sit up at the table.
We won't look at you.
That's fine. That's fine. So I'll start with the plan update. We've had a few interruptions in service since the previous board meeting. Biggest one I think everybody's already familiar with. June 24th through the 30th, we had some issues with communications to and from our remote sites, which is the tanks, excuse me, raw intake, booster station. They were resolved after a lot of troubleshooting. The CWS, Wedowee Utilities, Dexter Fortson, and Verizon. It was a big to do. Corrected the issue. Plant came back online on July 1st. While the plant was offline, we did take that time to clean the sedimentation basin and flocculation basins out. So that way, when the plant did start back up, we had a nice clean basin to work with. Also, 4th of July weekend, we saw a lot of usage. Fortunately, on the 4th of July, we were able to keep up with demand without any issues. I know Tim Smith was pretty happy about not having to get any calls because of the plant. Sunday, the 5th, though, because we were having to run at such a high rate, we didn't really have enough water to do a backwash on each of the filters, and it came time for both of the filters to be backwashed. So it's my understanding that we had to go on the county for a little while to get those filters backwashed. And from what I understand, it was just on the north end, so they were still running the plant while they were doing it to keep up the city tank. So it went into the following day on the 6th, and on the 6th, we were taken off the county and back to running as normal. All right, on the lagoon, for May 2026, and I've talked to Randy about this already, there was a non-compliance issue with the CBOD 5 result for May. It was a 8.34 parts per million, which was 1.34 over the permitted limit of 7.0. Still had good removal. and just to explain a little bit, our permitted amounts change in the summer and in the winter. In the winter, for whatever reason, the permitted value is higher, and in the summer it's a lot lower. So it's a very low amount generally, but the permitted value is so low, it's very hard to keep up. Made a bunch of adjustments at the lagoon. We increased the aerator run times from 8 hours a day to 12 hours a day. And then I turned on the three RBCs, rolling biological contactors, which does help with the CBEOD5 removal. Turn those back on, and then we did some additional sampling first part of June, and we were back underneath the permitted value. So we're keeping a close eye on that. I'm going to be taking some more samples this week to ensure that we're still compliant, but we had really good removal. Everything else is just perfect. That was just slightly over that permitted value. And there's no cost associated with that non-compliance issue. Moving on to sampling and compliance. All water and wastewater samples have been collected on time. No MCL exceedances have been reported other than the one I just told you about. Another reminder on the lead and copper. We have until September 30th to get those done. And we're going to get those done here hopefully soon. One other thing, I spoke with the Kelly group. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, do you want to handle that, or you?
Yeah, I'll handle it.
Okay. And then I'll
It's the only
give
thing I
my
got to talk about.
R&M spending has totaled $16,448.01 so far for this contract year. That contract year is March 2026 through February 2027, and that's roughly 20% of the yearly allotted amount of $85,000. So with that, I'll turn it over to.
Me?
Yeah.
So,
I have one question.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
And Randy, we sort of talked about this, but as far as the new plan we decided on to do 12 hours a day, 7 days a week versus 24, how is that working?
There's some hiccups that I think will be resolved once the project is complete with Chris Gray and them, where because there's been a little confusion on, I think, our end and y'all's end with the times that the county gets turned off and then back on and everything. But like
I
I
think
said,
it's more on you guys. I think.
yeah, probably. And it's been an adjustment, but I think once the Chris Gray gets done installing those control valves, where the operators, when they get to come in, they can open or close the valves feeding the
Does that help
system.
the Ava area? I mean,
I'm
an issue we have.
not entirely
What
sure.
was the question?
In Ava, we have low pressure, we have the hiccups and the thunderous water coming out occasionally time to time, and they worked on it because we would let them know so they could pinpoint why it was happening. And this happened here recently. I know we had some low pressure. That may be what you're talking about.
Yes, it was.
And my daughter and everybody along that road, 140, has their numbers to text, and they used to get a response, but they hadn't gotten a response. And maybe it's, I don't know, maybe not there anymore.
I know pressure is low along that area.
Well,
At times.
where he lived and all, or where his mama lived over there, it should hit because they put that valve in up there at the tank, and that tank would furnishes his water. So,
Yeah.
I know that that's one of the reasons that we were looking at running differently. You know, there at one time they're looking at putting a subdivision, a few lots in, on Old Fincher Farm, that's been approved. The reason that the concern was there is because you're already taking water from Ava, then Ava's pressure is pretty low where it's at. At certain times, we're required to give 20 PSI. 20 PSI, I mean, that's the requirement, right? It's not a lot of water. So, so if you look at like where Harold built those, houses out there, he put a booster pump on, and that's a way of boosting pressure up, to do that. But that's one physical fix for it. But other than that, there's with certain times of day, there's a low pressure right there. There's no doubt about it.
You see any fix in the future?
My recommendation right now is like it was to Harold. Of course, Harold just ran 1 meter to six properties. He should have probably split that up a little bit to get better pressure. But you need a volume. If you had a pump and a volume tank, if it was me, that's the easiest fix. It's just to buy a well pump with a small header tank on it and just plug it up. And it's not going to use a ton of power, but you'll get a lot of pressure when you do that. I mean, it's just, you know what I'm talking about, adding one in line?
Yeah, I think so. That's just a pain in the butt.
Well, now, he ought to be all right now, shouldn't he?
The pressure in Ava's pretty.
It's been better.
Yeah.
But I mean, I noticed the other day it was doing the spitting and cussing and all that. And Joe Wilkerson was telling me and found that his pressure was pretty low.
Well, I can tell you, especially in the last week and a half, when we lost communications with the tanks, in some, I mean, and not more of it, but we've had trouble at people understanding we got to keep tanks at least above 50%. Something happened and we're not paying attention, and all at once the tank's at 50%. At 50%, that ain't enough pressure.
No.
We have a very fine line on those tanks, and when the new stuff's in, like Hunter's talking about, those set automatically. And if they need water, they're set between this level and it's going to stay there. We've already utilized that new line we put in. We would have probably ran out of water on tank on 48. We'd have had people running out of water had it not been for that new line. We were able to crank that new line open with all the demand and fill that tank back up. It makes a huge difference. So once that, as well as the other lines are on automatic feeders, I mean, it's gonna help things a lot. I'm not gonna say it's gonna fix Ava completely, but it's not gonna see the cycles that you see.
As long as we don't go back any further, I mean, it's pretty much, it'll work okay. I mean, I don't want to have to put an inline pump.
Nobody does, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but, is there a big line that goes up 431? Like by
10-inch.
by the bargain barn or by
Go from Wedowee to the plant.
But does it go past Wedowee Building Supply?
No, Wedowee Building Plaza ain't got nothing.
No, they're on well.
Let's go up the old highway right in front of Ava Church. Right
Now,
up there.
The left over there where the Boondocks is, there's a 6-inch line there. And then there is a line across the street from like the Fincher Farm.
Yeah, but that line comes off the one
Off
goes by
Ava,
his mama's house down through there.
And there's a fire hydrant there, which, would it be enough to put out a fire? Of course, there's no houses right there.
I don't know, but my attorney's statement is we're not in the fire business.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. That tank, the pit y'all put up at the water tank.
Yeah.
It hadn't got an automatic valve to keep that tank.
It's
You gotta
not
turn it
working.
on and off.
It's not working properly.
Okay.
The altitude valve or whatever it is, it's not working properly. The new valve, the butterfly valve, will be is in the ground already. We're just waiting on the telemetry stuff to get it up and running. That's coming pretty quick, I hope. And that's going to fix a lot. Then the operator will be able to see the tanks themselves, and they make the switches, right from the plant. So anything needs to happen. So, but as far as that goes, the coordination has been. I've been pleasantly happy with how the guys have handled it and been able to switch with the operators and keep things. I would like us, I can't blame any of our issues. I don't think Hunter can either, that we've had recently on the fact that we're only running 12 hours a day. I think actually when the plant was running good, for a couple of weeks there, it ran as good as it's probably ever ran.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's 100 of them sending me samples every morning. I mean, really nice, clean water, and so on and so forth. So, that part of it's been good. What I'd like to see more is obviously I'd like to use more water that I make during those periods of time and not be down at all. But that's just me being if I'm paying these guys, I want to figure out how I run all the time and then buy water when we need water. To that end, I will give you the good news that I told you in City Hall I was going to give you today, which is we spoke with Kelly Engineering Group yesterday. You guys probably all know in the past that we've talked about the new reg coming out for PFAS, however you want to call it. And we were suspected that we were going to have some issues. We'd asked for money for construction, some other stuff. We kind of didn't get what we were going after, but come to find out after Kelly done some more research with new regs and everything else, and I'll give you the gist of it as it was given to me, is that it is an average sample over 4 sampling periods. Correct me if I get wrong on this. Yeah. Over 4 sampling periods. So we had one sample that had a 7, and we're talking about parts per trillion. I don't even know how they sample for that, to be honest with you, how they analyze for that, parts per trillion. And we were 7, the reg was 4, but because they now allow you to average that over 4 samplings, all of our other samplings were 0. We're now below the 4. Unless something changes, we will not need to do anything to our plant. We're good to go past 2031. We do not have PFAS issues. What they've asked for is money. We are going after grant money for a sampling event so we could try to determine why that number was that high and look at our system and see if there was somewhere maybe that was coming in that we can address that so that we stay low. But right now, the great news is, because you're talking $500 to $3 million you're going to need to spend on something. Right now, we don't have to spend anything. So we're great. That's
a toxin in the Tallapoosa River, right? That's a chemical in the Tallapoosa River.
It is an emerging contaminant, I think is how the EPA.
Emerging contaminant, okay.
But it could have come from somebody dumping something in the sewer. I mean, we don't know till we start doing a sample event, trying to really pinpoint.
And our population is growing. I would imagine this is going to come up more and more over time.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to ask, and I got to go in a minute, but the sewage pond, does that same engineer decide how much capacity we have in our sewage pond?
We use those guys, but we really use Hunter on some of that too. Hunter has a better idea about it.
Do we have any more capacity in
those? Oh yeah. So ADM sets forth in the permit for the lagoon the permitted number of gallons that you could treat. I believe it's daily.
How could you increase that? I'm just curious. Would it ultraviolet system or anything like that?
I mean, you could build another plant, but Wedowee, as far as I know, and based on, I think me and you had talked about this, Randy, we're way below max capacity. So
and 16 acres we were talking about selling be an area we could use at some point.
I'm not sure.
We'll never get it back.
Possibly.
Well, that's why we wanted the town to buy it, but they chose not to. So
yeah,
they own the lagoon, right? So it should go with whoever owns the lagoon, but it is what it is. But it is right now, even with if everything goes forward with the campground up there, we still have plenty of capacity. We're still looking pretty good. I just don't know how much more, to be honest with you, Wedowee would grow that they need sewer in Wedowee.
It would require a massive
collection it would probably, if just me thinking as I talk, is that, if Wedowee grew so much more outside of Wedowee right there, I mean, that may just be somewhere that you look at building a different plant than what we've got.
The connection process it, quickly. Well, anyway, I appreciate all of y'all. This is awesome that the information we're getting now that we never would have gotten before. And I appreciate y'all what you're doing.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank y'all. I gotta go. See you later.
So you're talking about the aerator runtime. Can you change that without actually having to go there? Or?
No, I cannot. It's something I have to go in there. I have to open the panel up, and there's a switch in there or a timer, and manually set the time on it, and then tell it what times to be on.
Since we're on the sewer, I'll tell you that we had a little event over the weekend at Chimney Cove where one of the lift stations shut off, and I ended up getting a phone call because having issues in somebody's basement. So why that was never put on, an alarm that alerts us when they got a high water level, I'm not sure, but we're gonna get that put on a high, I mean, we don't need something happening in somebody's basement to figure out that there's something tripped. And, so we'll get that on some, a monitoring system that it will alert us if they hit a high water level, so we can send somebody down there to manually cycle the pumps. So, and it won't be much money, but that's gonna happen, so.
Okay, Randy, do you have, any other stuff you would like to bring to our attention?
Yeah, so, thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
So we talked about the PFAS. Barry talked about the financial. I talked about the fact that Kelly Engineering is submitting some grant for PFAS sampling. And the last thing I'll say is we put in, you know, kind of different than how it's probably done in the past, but we actually filled out a position description for an operations field technician, put it on our website. And, you know, with Tim moving up, with us short one person, we have a little bit of availability right now, and we ended up hiring a gentleman based on the application being online, and we've had a few people come in and apply. And we did it pretty quick, so we closed it pretty quick. But we, in the future, that's how it is. We have a hiring little blurb on the website, and we announce it on Facebook, and then we put a header on our webpage when we're hiring. So if people want to keep up with that, because you know, that's the best way to get in. So we hired a gentleman, and he starts next week. So.
And what was his job description?
He is it's field technician, but what we really needed at the moment was an extra commercial driver license. He has building experience, he has pipe laying experience, some other stuff, so he's an operator, but he also has a commercial driver's license, and currently we only have one of those. And if that person's out or something, and right now, as it happened to be, he's getting surgery probably in the next couple of weeks, or next week, that he's gonna be kind of out of pocket for a minute. And so you know, it's very convenient that we actually hired a guy with a CDL, because when we're moving our equipment, we need that license.
The fella he hired, you won't find nobody no better.
So.
I'm vouch for that. He's gonna be, well, let me just put it this way. He's a good man.
Don't jinx him.
He likes to work now. He's ready to go to work, I promise you that.
So we're looking forward to it. So that's all I got.
Any other business?
Hey Barry, could I ask a question, and this changing gears just a little bit, what's the status of natural gas? I know in one of the meetings I heard that could be a good profit maker for the utility board, but we don't have capacity. And I know at the hotel, we couldn't get gas, we had to put in from LP tanks, but was there progress on that, or?
It's a little bit longer term, probably. It's not dead. We're looking into it. We're working with a gas company. We actually have a gas company meeting coming up July the 15th and 16th up in Kennesaw. And we're hoping the problem we have is there's grant money available, and we're probably talking about $6 to $7 million to run a bigger line from Roanoke to here, because so it's going to, and that may have been a couple of years ago when they got the price, so it could have went up some. But so it's going to be pretty significant. But we would like to see a bigger line ran, because gas is a good moneymaker, for us. But we have to get our audited financials ready, because you have to have that stuff to go after grants. So that's been one of the problems in the past they've had. But we're getting close to that. I think within the next year, I would like to hope that we're in a position that we can go after some grant money for gas. So.
Thank you. I wasn't sure, somebody mentioned it wasn't a big fix, but it is a big fix. That's a lot of money. I thought it might have been something pretty simple to avoid the address. So, thank you.
Anything else, Gene?
That's it.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.